Hi, welcome to Beginner Basics with Marley Bird. In this video, we're going to learn how to do half double crochets. Now the half double crochet is sort of like the stepbrother to the double crochet, but the big brother to the single crochet. It's not as tall as the double or as short as the single. It's that little stitch in between, and I'm going to show you how to do it. So let's do this right now. I've already chained 12 chain stitches. If you need a refresher on how to do a chain stitch, please go check out my YouTube channel, Marley Bird, and you'll see the beginner basics for the chain stitch. Now, when you do a half double crochet directly into the chain, just like any other stitch, you have to make a decision whether you're going to go into the back loop, or if you're going to go into the front loop, or if you're going to go into the butt of the stitch and the back loop. For me, I'm going to use just the back loop of this chain stitch. And we're going to begin by working a half double crochet in the third chain from hook. Now it's important to note always that the chain on your hook does not count as a stitch. I repeat, it does not count. So we're going to count the third chain from hook. So there's 1, there's 2, and here's the third. Now for the half double, we're going to begin with a yarn over on our hook, and by just going underneath to the left, backed up to the right, on our hook. We're going to begin with that, okay? Now in my right hand, I use my middle finger to kind of hold that chain in place just so it doesn't wiggle around. I think it adds a little bit more stability. I'm going to go directly into the back loop of that chain stitch. I'm going to go from the left to the right underneath that yarn to grab a chain or to grab a loop. I shouldn't say grab a loop, to grab the yarn, so it's called a yarn over. And I'm going to pull that through my chain stitch. So if I bring my hook up and it's parallel to my chain stitches, I now have a loop, my yarn over created loop, and my original loop that was on my hook. Instead of just drawing through one stitch or 2 stitches, I'm going to yarn over my hook. I'm going to draw through all 3 loops on my hook. That creates my half double crochet. Can you see how it's a little bit bigger than the single crochet? So let's do this again. We're going to switch over to the next chain stitch. We're going to yarn over our hook to begin with. I'm going to hold that. I'm going to go into the chain, yarn over my hook, pull up a loop, yarn over my hook, draw through all 3. Let's do it again. Yarn over, go into the chain, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, draw through 3. See how easy that is so far? Now, I want you to pause at this point, and you're going to grab this little stitch marker, and we're going to put a stitch marker into the top of the very first half double crochet we created. If you notice, I'm putting the stitch marker through both loops. Okay, so that little V there, I'm putting it through both loops, and I'm going to have it just hang out there. What that's going to do is it's going to give you a visual clue or a cue of where the end of your row is. So if you've ever accidentally tried to finish a couple rows and accidentally, let's rephrase that. If you've ever tried to finish a row and accidentally stopped too late or too early before the end of your row, then you get like a really wiggly, wobbly edge, and we don't want that. So by adding that stitch marker, you're going to get a nice, clean, crisp edge. So I'm going to continue on. I'm yarning over my hook, going into the next chain, yarning over, pull up a loop, yarn over, draw through all 3. Yarn over, go into the chain, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, draw through all 3. I'm going to complete this all the way to the end. You will too. Hopefully you've done your chain stitches nice and loose so you're not having to fight getting your hook inside the chain. That's something that is just really hard to do. If you find that you're doing that, I encourage you to rip out the chains and do them one more time, just making sure they're nice and loose. Okay, so I've made it to the end of my chains, and knowing that I had originally began with 12 chains and we skipped the first 2 and worked into the third, I know I should have 10 half double crochets. So I'm going to count. Here's my first because it's already marked. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I have 10 half double crochets. Just like any other crochet stitch, you need to build the next row. So in order to do that, we need to step up. I like to think of it as you're climbing the steps. And to do that, we're going to chain the number of stitches that will give us roughly the same height as this base the stitch that we've already created. So for a half double crochet, that's typically a chain 2. If I were to fold this down, you can see that chain 2 stitches, it's approximately the same height as that half double crochet. So with that chain 2, I've now created the height for my next row. I'm not going to include that first chain 2 as a stitch, so it's purely a turning chain. I've chained 2, I'm turning, and now I'm going to begin to work my next row of half double crochets. To do that, I want to make sure I do not work into these first 2 chains here that I created. I want to work into the actual stitch. So this is the top of the stitch of the last half double crochet we created. I'm going to yarn over my hook, and I want to go in through both loops. Can you see how my hook is going underneath both the front loop and the back loop there? All patterns are written with the intent of you doing a stitch in through both loops, unless they want you to do it only through the back loop or only through the front loop. Oops, I accidentally completed a double, so I ripped it out and completed the half double. So I'm yarning over, I'm going to go into that nice little hole. I have both loops on my hook, yarning over, pulling up a loop. I have 3 loops on my hook, yarn over, draw through 3. If you remember to always begin with your yarn over to start, you go in, pull up a loop, you'll get to 3, you yarn over and draw through 2. Complete the row. But wait a minute, let's pause. What did Marley forget? Right here, I want to make sure I mark my very first half double crochet, because when I come back along this row, I want to make sure I know what my last stitch is, just like I did before. So I'm going to grab my stitch marker, I'm going to put it in the V through both loops and have that hang there. Now I know that that's my last stitch. I'm going to come back over here, I'm going to give myself some more yarn, and I'm going to complete my row of half double crochets. If you didn't get a chance to watch some of the other beginner basic videos, you can see here as I'm working along that when I go to pull my yarn over through all of my loops, I'm turning my hooks in a way that puts this hook part down, kind of like it's through this teardrop of the stitch. So when I pull it through, it doesn't snag any yarn. Can you see right there? It's like a teardrop, and I'm pulling the hook right on through. It becomes really easy to be able to pull through the yarn, and you don't have to snag anything. If you have a nice smooth yarn and a nice smooth crochet hook, you can do that. Now here I am at the end, and there are all too often times when beginners and advanced knit or crocheters at the same time will stop there and accidentally turn thinking they're at the last stitch. But we know we're not at the last stitch because we did our due diligence and marked it prior to us getting there. So now I'm down here, I'm going to go through both of those legs of that stitch. I could remove the hook or the stitch marker at this point. I will go ahead for this example, and I just complete my half double crochet. All right, so now I know I'm right there. Again, to start the next row, it's real simple. Chain 2, turn. I'm going to yarn over, go into the top of the stitch. I'm not working into the chains. Pull up a loop, yarn over, draw through all 3 loops. I can pause here, grab my marker that I had just taken out, put it into the new last stitch, see? And I can carry on and complete my row. See how that works? I'm going to set this aside and pull one in that I've already completed, or I've been working on is what I should say it. The lighter blue down here, that was my original foundation chain. And then I changed to a darker blue, and I was working half double crochets. And you can see down here along the edge, those where my turning 2 chains were. I've been moving my stitch markers up so that I know where my last chain is and my first chain is. And if you needed to put your work away and put it in your project bag and you didn't want it to come unraveled on accident, you can actually use a stitch marker through your active loop. So that way, when your work is pulled, there's actually a stopping point. So it's a great way to use stitch markers. Now that you know how to do the half double crochet, let's go learn how to do the double crochet and the treble crochet. You can find those right here on my channel, Marley Bird, in the Beginner Basics section.